We were talking about the idea of whole consumer lifespan as it
Yep.
pertains to retail media networks, not just companies who can drive online purchases, but can look at the customer from a whole shopper. The perspective of, yeah, sometimes they buy things online, but then they return in person. Sometimes that return is an opportunity to, show people more opportunities to interact with the brand. A lot of brands are setting up spaces that you can't even do purchases in anymore. It's
Yes.
basically physical locations to then drive the online purchase. Micro showrooms. I just saw Audi launched a new showroom inside of a mall, and then they try and kind of like Tesla did, and then send people to the dealer afterwards. So just kind of curious of some of the things that you're seeing and looking at whole customer life cycle.
Those are the companies that are succeeding. That and being online for 30 years, we have to remember these dots represent a person. They always represent a person. The problem is the dots as a data point are averages.
Yeah.
Well, we as Americans could be left and right, this and that. But a person is not that. It is very hard to data point someone in New York who might feel this but feel that, and you have to identify that person. I'm on a few board directors, and one of the things we try to do is I say, let's literally get out there. One of my happiest career moments, I was CMO of Adorama Picks, and I would sit in the lobby as people came in.
Yeah.
Just talk to me. In fact, there was a moment, it was in a Hasidic Orthodox Jewish area, and I looked at the woman and said, "Ich kann reden ein bisschen Yiddish," and you studied a little Yiddish? I'm like, yeah, just a little bit to talk, and just talk to her, because I wanted to connect to her.
Right.
If you left her as a data point, it would just been 35 female Brooklyn.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was more to the story, and there was more to the feeling of why she was there. And you have to always connect those data points to that human. So like when you mentioned the showroom in the mall, that's great. You're like talking to people and say, what's going on?
Customer touch point for the brand, even though they're not going to walk out with a purchase, it's where they're
Brilliant.
going to, it's like sampling at a Costco.
We needed more of that in this. And I think the onset of the world of data, which I would almost started 94 when I started online, it was the world of data. You could identify the data points, and they've been invaluable.
Yeah.
But then we can't forget that the data point reflects a human, and that data point needs to be re-identified, and then call your customer, talk to them, make it an additional data point to say, not only do I see your dot, but your dot represents Dylan, and you're this and you're that, and let's talk together.
Yeah, I love that. One of the areas that I've been focused on is the creator economy, especially as it ties into retail media strategies. One way to, as an emerging direct-to-consumer brand, to start building retail footprint is, get a test somewhere, then buy a bunch of media and drive, foot traffic into that location. But one of the things that we've seen brands want to do is send influencers into point of sale, create content in store, and then tag the retail partner in those brand posts.
Yep.
Wondering if, is that kind of gaming the system a little bit? Is that like buying billboards next to the headquarters of Target? Or
It's the new world. We were both talking before about having over 30,000 followers.
Yeah.
And I get about 3 to 5 influencer reaches out.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Every month I get someone saying, can you do this or that, as an influencer. I laughed saying, do you care that I've been a 5-time exit? No, you have 30,000 followers. And I do think that is the creator economy.
Yeah.
It's another market. I have advocated, it's the same as when the internet came out. Everyone was like, should we move from TV to internet? Should we move from radio to TV to internet? And now everyone's, should we move to creator? And our argument is, no, they're all pieces. And you need to have a little bit, in a perfect world, of whatever pieces are relevant to the audience you're targeting. It might be creator, but you should also have online and in physical presence and billboard on the sidewalk, maybe that radio show, and you have a holistic point of view as opposed to bet it all on black, and that's what goes right and wrong sometimes.
Yeah, no, I love that. You brought up this idea of the B2B influencer or the LinkedIn influencer.
Yes.
LinkedIn is becoming a social media platform.
Oh,
They've They've launched a TikTok feed, video feed inside of their platform that's getting more and more attention, and more content is being shown there.
Yep.
And people are sharing more of their whole selves as people. Like LinkedIn isn't just the place where you post your job update, your promotion.
No, it's become much more of that Instagram for business.
Yeah, it's wild, right? So, what are the best ways that you like to be approached to work with a brand or an organization? Because, selling a pure leaf iced tea, is very different than partnering with a SaaS company, or partnering with a retail data company, or partnering with a B2B company. What are the ways that you like to be approached, and how you like to co-collaborate with brands, organizations?
I like to be approached the same way I like in any business relationship. In fact, I'm very happy. I hired someone I've known for decades to be one of my sales guys. And the reason I hired him is he set up the call. Here's your background. Here's what you do. Here's what I know about you. Here's why I think it matters to you. There's an authenticity there.
Yeah.
I actually laughed. I remember this call vividly. It was 10 years ago. I said, I will never buy your product. I hate your product. I hate everything about the company you rep. But you will work for me one day.
Wow.
And it's true.
Yeah.
And it caused that relationship. There is an authenticity that you have to reach out. I reached out to you. I said, I love your podcast. Dude, let's talk.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And that's, sometimes it's just that, being authentic. You looked at my back and said, yeah, that's Dominick's world. Let me, let's talk, and here we are.
I love it.
You have to have an authentic, real human relationship in any outreach, and LinkedIn is such a great platform to allow that person to person.
Yeah, a lot of spam on there too, but I think the right types of approaches break through.
Absolutely.
One of the things that has been a huge benefit of doing this podcast is, like with all the ChatGPTs, and now you can really outsource your research.
Yeah.
I could say, ChatGPT, give me 10 questions to ask Dominick when I show up.
Absolutely.
And they'll probably give me maybe even better industry questions, but I like to do my research by hand still, because I find little details about your background, or places you worked, or people we have in common, or something you said on another show that interests me specifically, and that builds chemistry kind of before we even show up.
And ChatGPT does love throwing in things.
Yeah.
I love that it knows me. In fact, it does also, because it's read my books, it replicates my voice very well. There was a moment my wife couldn't guess me or ChatGPT, and I love that.
Must have been a fun experiment.
But yeah, you have to just be the human.
Yeah.
I enjoy when at a conference, we're talking. I'm seeing you physically. I'm getting a read. Who is this guy, Dylan? And the intonation of your voice.
Totally.
Maybe, you don't talk as fast. You go, okay, he seems more of like a West Coaster guy. But there's a natural connection.
Totally. Yeah, I always say, Zoom calls are really good for conveying information, but you're never going to make a friend on a Zoom call.
No.
You're only going to make a friend by showing up and meeting people in the real world.
And that's also why I studied languages as a hobby.
Wow.
I studied language so I could speak to someone in Italian or Spanish and French.
Love that. That's cool.
And the true reason is just to connect. Let me understand you a little bit better, and maybe it's just an intonation or a differing messaging. Let's figure that out together.
I love that. So, any cool content you've seen so far here at Shop Talk? Anything impress you? Anything that you thought was insightful?
I honestly, the one big thing I got from Shop Talk is I realized you need to double the length. I am doing 30 minutes of meetings a day. And there's content too. There's that much.
It's hard, right?
That
to
many
juggle
people.
It. Yeah.
It is an experience. The physicality of the space, meaning you and I are in this room, and then I'm going to run to that room, and then we're going to run in.
It's a lot of steps on the on the Whoop by the end of the week.
Oh, I did 28,000 yesterday, so I'm ready.
Let's go. All right, Dominick, where can people find you? Where can they find
LinkedIn.
your work and find? There we go.
Go to LinkedIn.
That's
Dominick
the spot.
Miserandino. Follow away. I'm here for you, man.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on and saying hi.
I love it. Thank you for having me.
Cheers. Bye-bye.